you. So, Om Maganat Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So it's very nice to be here again in Finland. It's been about a year since I've been here, and I used to come here quite often. So today we are celebrating initiation. So let's talk about what initiation is. Actually, there's two types of initiation that are taking place today. One type is Hari Nam initiation, and the other type is called the Gayatri or Brahman initiation. So the word initiation, in English at least, means to begin. So what are we beginning? What we are beginning is the path of spiritual progress to the ultimate goal, which is Ananda Moya Vyasat. Now I'll translate that for those of you who don't know what it means. It means to bliss, unlimited happiness, unlimited bliss. Because our nature, that is the nature of each and every one of us, is to experience unlimited happiness. Now, unfortunately, we've been trying in the wrong place, which is through our mind and these, what we call the gross body, gross meanings, the Pancha Mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And we've been frustrated. Now let me give you a more scientific understanding of this in modern nomenclature. Let's say, for example, that you're playing a video game, okay? I'm sure that many of you play video games, right? Don't raise your hand. Don't want to embarrass any of you. Actually, I played video games before video games were invented, so I was playing Pac-Man. So you've heard of Pac-Man? Yeah. That's how old I am. So many of you play video games, and in the modern video games, or even there's something called the metaverse, where you get an avatar. Avatar, the word avatar is an interesting word. It means someone who descends, goes down. Of course, Krishna is very kind that he comes down here, also come down. So when you're playing a video game, you have this representation of yourself, which is called an avatar. There's actually this one, not game, but it's actually a whole world called Second Life. Some of you may have heard about that. Actually, my background is in technology. That's why I'm using in computers. So that you go into this world and you get a replica of yourself in this world. And in that world, you're trying to enjoy. So one time I went into this world, the Second Life, just to see what it was like to have an avatar. And so when I went there, I was wandering all around, and I even found a Hare Krishna temple there. And in this Hare Krishna temple, this is true. And in this Hare Krishna temple, I found they were selling dhotis and saris and everything like that, using these dollars. They're called Linden dollars, anyway. And so you could buy all these things. And then also, as I was wandering around, I came upon one of my disciples there. But this disciple, I mean, he's a very nice devotee, but he's, anyway, he may be watching now, so I gotta be careful. So, but anyway, he's a little shorter than most of us. His name is Gopal. Some of you may have met Gopal. And so, but he was really tall as an avatar. because I guess he wanted that body. So anyway, and he was there, and I was there, and I said, "Hey, is that you, Gopal?" "Yes, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my obeisances, Guru Maharaj." So I was seen in this world, even though there was the illusion of great powers. You could actually fly from one place to another in this world. But I was also seeing that there's no happiness in that world. It's all an illusion of happiness. Because it's an illusion. So in the same way, of course, you may say, but this is not an electronic world. This is not a simulation. Well, I got news for you. This is a simulation. Why is it a simulation? Because, for those of you who don't know what simulation means, that means like basically a computer-generated world. Okay? So why is it a simulation? Because we are driving around something that's not us. Krishna in the Gita says, Yantra Rudani Maya, that Ishwara Sarvabhutanam Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutane Yantra Rudani Maya, that this is a machine. Yantra, for those you know a little, it means a machine. So this machine is being driven by us, and we are not perceiving things directly. When you see something in this world, you are basically, let me explain the process of seeing. You're the photons, or whatever, the waves, photons, depends on how advanced you are in quantum theory. So the photons, they hit the back of the eyeball eventually, the optic nerve, and go through the optic nerve, then go through the brain, and they get reversed and everything like that, and eventually they make its way into the heart, the subtle body. So our perception of this world is very indirect. Like our perception in a simulation. You understand? In the computer world, it is extremely indirect. So the happiness we experience through these simulations, or going on TikTok or any of this stuff like that, is all just in the mind. It's not reality. Everything's in the mind. It's really interesting. It's not real in that sense. Of course, it's real in the sense that the material world exists. Just like a computer virtual world does exist as a computer virtual world. But not as something that we think is substantial. I mean, even scientifically, for example, if you look at matter, these bodies and this table and whatever, it's mostly space. Space between the subatomic particles, the atomic particles, like that. It's really, just illusion. And also, Krishna in the Gita says, what is nasato vijate bhavo na bhavo vijate sataha uvayo api drishno antas tvanios tadvadarshavihi. That the sages, the great personalities, the self-realized souls, see those things that are temporary as unreal. Because it's just temporary. It's like a soap bubble. Some of you, when you were young, might have experienced blowing bubbles. Every kid does this. And then you go chasing after the bubble, and the bubble's gone, or bubble gum, and explodes in your face. So, in the same way, we're not really getting the happiness that we're meant to have. We actually are meant to be really happy. And then another point is, because our happiness is dependent upon the condition of this body, then when the body starts to deteriorate, or the body gets sick, our happiness diminishes, or we experience what? Pain instead of happiness. And that's why this world is a world of duality. A world of happiness and distress, pleasure, pain. because we're misidentifying ourselves with something that we're not. Now the Buddhists actually have a very good point. They talk about there are four noble truths. Some of you may be familiar with Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist, but a lot of things the Buddhists say is true. What is it? First thing is, the material world is a place where there's suffering. And there's also some enjoyment, but it's just back and forth, and it's really an insignificant amount of enjoyment compared to spiritual enjoyment. First thing. And the suffering is caused by what? Attachment. Second. Give up the attachment, suffering goes away. And then, of course, they talk about following the Eightfold Path. That's the fourth one. Will enable you to give up the attachment. But we're presenting here a better way to give up your attachment. Because the problem with giving up attachment to this world is the more you think of giving it up, the more attached you get to it. And I often say that you can't do a don't. And if I tell you not to think of something, you'll think of it more. If I say to you, please do not think of a pink elephant. Nobody here should think of a pink elephant. Then everybody has in their minds, pink elephant, pink elephant. Stop thinking of a pink elephant. Stop it immediately. It doesn't work. Right? At least I'm thinking of a pink elephant right now. Hopefully I don't die. I'll take birth as a pink elephant in my next life. That'll be the problem. So, it just doesn't work. So how do you become detached from something that's causing you this like up and downs? It's like, for those who study science, like a sine wave that goes up and down, up and down, up and down. It gets, or like a roller coaster. You have roller coasters here? I remember when I was young, I went on a roller coaster. And that was the last time I ever went on one. I was praying to Krishna it would be over. So, it goes up, and down. Anyway. So, therefore, we need to have some higher focus, higher objective, higher pleasure. Like when you're experiencing a lot of pleasure, you forget about everything else. I mean, just using a computer example again. Sometimes like a young boy, young girl's playing a computer game, and they forget that they're hungry. Actually, in some countries, they actually die. And in China and Japan, sometimes they go to the internet cafes, and the people actually die because they're so attached. So we're not suggesting that. So the whole idea is to become attached to a higher source of pleasure. Actually, the word Krishna means most attractive. Krishna. It's composed of two syllables. Krish, which means to attract, and Na, which is short for Ananda, which means unlimited happiness, unlimited bliss. So Krishna. So the name Krishna means the person who gives unlimited bliss. And Rama, enjoyment. So of course Krishna's the enjoyer. That's another subject matter. So we want that. We are pleasure seeking. But we just don't know where to look for the source of pleasure. So we are presenting in Krishna consciousness a methodology to achieve that source of pleasure, to understand our real identity. Now we're very confused now because we have these concepts of who or what we are. These are called in Sanskrit upadhis. That means a designation or a label. I am Finnish, or American, or I'm white or black or something like that, or I'm a businessman, or even me, I'm a sannyasi. That's just Maya. Of course, sannyasi's Maya. Anyway, it is. If I think that I'm a sannyasi, that's Maya. That's a designation, temporary illusion, like playing the video game. It's all illusion. Of course, we act in a certain way in this world, just observing the ordinary etiquette of the Matrix. If anybody's seen that film, some of you must have seen it. So we act in a certain way, but at the same time, internally, the whole point is to come to understand our real identity, which is described in Sanskrit as Jivera Surboy Nitya Krishna Das. That I am eternally a servant of Krishna. And the idea of serving Krishna means that one becomes happy because what makes us happy is loving relationships. And in this world, our loving relationships become frustrated at a certain point. But the loving relationship with Krishna can go on unlimitedly and increases more and more and more, and then we can experience a life of what's called Satchitananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And that's basically what Krishna consciousness is. So this process of initiation is a step, as we said in the beginning, it's a step of achieving that goal of unlimited happiness. And not only that, it's a step of helping others achieve that goal. Because naturally, we are all compassionate entities. And that compassion or love for others also is a very important part of our spiritual psychology. I'll tell you one story. Even the animals, they actually have this compassion too. Anyone who's worked with animals. I'll tell you one interesting story. Once upon a time, there was a lady who was scuba diving. You know, scuba diving means you go under the water, you have these tanks and everything like that. Scuba stands for self-contained oxygen, like that. And so, as she was scuba diving, a whale kept pushing her. She was wondering, why is this whale pushing me? Because whales don't eat people. Even though in the Bible it talks about Jonah the whale getting eaten by the whale. So the whale got pushed, and then she found out the whale was protecting her from a shark. Wow. There's, love between the different species there. So that's a natural part of ourselves, try to help others. So if you really want to help others, then it's important to understand what to do to help people. And that means understanding who people are. What is their identity? Because everyone in this world has this false identification. I mentioned that word before, upadi. Has amnesia, that means forgetfulness, because they've forgotten their real identity. And Krishna consciousness wakes one up. Okay, so the process that we're teaching, as I mentioned, is that of chanting. Those taking first initiation are learning how to chant the holy name properly. Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, mentioned that in order to learn how to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra properly, first of all, I should explain why the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is a spiritual sound vibration that's non-different from Krishna. And by chanting, you're coming in contact with the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, and you chant it, and Krishna in your heart, Hridyantaksto Yavadrani Vidinodzi Saritsatam, in Sanskrit, Krishna in your heart gets rid of all the bad stuff, cleanses you of all these misunderstandings, misidentifications you're having in this simulation, this virtual world that we're in right now. So that's why you chant. So Prabhupada taught us that we need to avoid certain things when chanting. And some of the things we need to avoid are things called offenses. And there's, generally it's a list of 10, but there's probably a few more. But there's 10 that Prabhupada would always speak about. I mean, one of them, let's start with number 1. It's a good way to start. The first one is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to serving Krishna. And Krishna becomes very displeased when one criticizes or blasphemes someone who's dedicated to his service. So we avoid that. Instead, let's put it in a positive, then we praise people. We serve people who have dedicated their lives in that way. The second one we want to avoid is considering, of course this would only apply to people from India, considering the names of the demigods to be equal to or independent of the holy name of Krishna. Because according to Vedic literatures, there's these people called demigods. You may not know what they are, they're pretty far out. And what they do is they work under Krishna. They're Krishna's employees. So sometimes people try to bribe them. Just like if anyone's been in India, and I've spent a lot of time in India, it's important to learn how to bribe, right? I mean, I tell you so many experiences. One time we wanted to get a telephone line put in, this before they had mobile phones. And they said, well, this will be 2 years. And I said, well, here's some money. I said, okay, tomorrow we'll install it. So, anyway, so apart from that, these personalities called demigods, we don't consider to be equal to Krishna, they're just his servants. And then the next offense is to disobey Krishna's pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual master representative, spiritual master like that. Because Krishna's giving us instructions, and so instead we obey. And the next offense is to blaspheme or criticize literatures which extol spirituality, which talks about spirituality. So we're interested in all spiritual literatures, bona fide spiritual literatures from any tradition. We're not stuck in one particular tradition. Next offense is to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. They're not imagination. Krishna is there. I can tell you that after so many years of chanting, Krishna is there. Next offense is to give some crazy interpretation of Krishna's name. Actually, you can give a bona fide interpretation, which I did previously. The word Krishna means the most attractive person who gives you bliss. And so the next offense is to do bad things. I'm not going to use the word sin. To do bad things, I think you can get away with it just by chanting. Chanting gets rid of karma, that's true. But you can't think that I'm going to be really bad karmically and go around hurting a lot of people and then keep chanting. It doesn't work like that. Next is to consider the process of Krishna consciousness, the chanting, to be like a ritual. We call them karma kanja rituals. They're not. It's a pure spiritual activity. There's many things we do that are rituals. Like, for example, the type of dress I'm wearing is a ritual. You can be spiritual dressed in any way. It's not that you have to dress in these dhotis, which we used to call. In the beginning days of the movement, we didn't have dhotis, we just used bed sheets. They kind of look funny. You ever see that? No. This was many years ago, in 1970. So, but anyway, you can dress any way. You can have your hair any way. If you want to look like Satya Sai Baba, that's all right. I don't know if you know who Satya Sai Baba is. Of course you all know who he is. So, I actually looked like him before I joined the movement. But I also had more hair than him. Like a yogi. So anyway, so it's all right. It's the internal thing we're interested in. But if you simply think of the external things, that's an offense in chanting. Right? Like karma kanja means any like rituals. So yeah. So many times, I dress like this, but whatever. Whenever it's necessary, I'll dress a different way. What's the difference? I'm still the same person. So, hope you report me for that. So, so that he's watching you taking notes. So the ninth offense is to be basically to be careful of who you speak to and how you speak to people. You may be driving them away from Krishna consciousness by not talking to them in the right way or sharing Krishna consciousness in the right way. In other words, don't say things to people. The offense is originally stated, to preach the glories of the Lord to the faithless, but everybody can become Krishna conscious. It's just a question of knowing how to approach them or what angle of Krishna consciousness to give them. And the last one is to not have complete faith in the chanting of Hare Krishna and to maintain material attachments. Obviously, by chanting, the material attachments go away. It's a natural process. I don't worry about material attachments. I just absorb myself in Krishna, and then automatically I'm not interested in anything else. It's called that raso varjam rasya pyasa panam drishti protade. It's a higher taste. You understand? So that's basically the things to avoid. And then as positive things, we study the Shikshashtaka prayers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these teach us the right mood to chant in. Because we're chanting from the heart, not from the brain, because we use our mouth, but mainly it comes from the heart. And Lord Chaitanya teaches us heart chanting in the heart chakra, for those who study yoga. That, just like right now, what am I doing? I'm touching my heart, so actually I'm feeling more emotional than normal. Normally, if I'm hungry, I touch my stomach, but right now, touching my heart. And so, try that sometimes. Sometimes you'll see great devotees when they're chanting japa, they'll hold their bead bag, right here. You ever see that? Pictures of some of the great acharyas. And it's really powerful because there are chakras. And so anyway, we chant with our heart, and then when we chant with our heart, we can avoid the final problem, which is inattentive chanting. Chanting with your heart means I'm chanting for a purpose. I'm chanting to cry out to Krishna. And then you chant purely. Wonderful. So those who are taking the first initiation, that's a message for them as well as for everybody else. To chant with your heart and avoid the impediments or the problems in chanting. And they're making promises too, to avoid things that really will make them miserable. What are they avoiding? Intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, and meat eating. And you may say, why will that make me miserable? Because I enjoy drinking. There's a lot of beer here in Finland. Yeah, I know. There's special Finnish beer too. Best in the world. I don't know. Why? Because intoxication brings you to lower modes of nature. It really brings your consciousness down. I remember going to the university years ago, and every Sunday morning, that's after Saturday night, for those of you who don't know that, because Saturday night everybody gets intoxicated at the university, at least when I was in the university. Probably India, they don't do that. They're pious in India. Not really. So every morning the people are lying in the halls of the dormitory. It looked like a bunch of corpses. So it was horrible. They were not happy. They were what we call hungover. And that's don't get intoxicated. And then gambling. I mean, there's stories in the Vedic literatures how people even gambled their wife away. They just became so enamored by that. So you go crazy. It just makes you crazy and miserable. And what to speak of eating meat? Oh my God. It's like cannibals. Can you imagine, like, you go somewhere and say, give me a leg. A chicken leg, This makes people miserable. And it's bad karma because next life you'll be a chicken. I don't know if you have this place that sells chicken. It's everywhere around the world. It's called KFC. Do you have that here?
Yeah.
You have that here in Finland. The person who started this KFC, his name was Colonel Sanders. Prabhupada said that he'll have to take a chicken birth and death for every chicken that's ever sold in any of his stores. Which pretty much means eternally he's going to be a chicken. Not a good idea. And be eaten too. So, and illicit sex, because we all want loving relationships. And these looser types of relationships, karmically they're not good, but they're not satisfying to people. People want steady, constant relationship with people they can depend on, loving relationships with God and with everybody else. So people take initiation, they're promising that. And then that's first initiation, which is the beginning. And then second initiation is called Brahman initiation, in which people are trying to develop the higher qualities of the mode of goodness. I'll mention that very briefly. Some of them Shanti Rajva Yanavigan Mastakyam Brahma Karma Svavajan. One is trying to develop being equal poised in happiness and distress, transcendental, being transcendental, self-controlled, sense-controlled, accepting things in this world that are helpful for spiritual life and rejecting things that's called tapa. Rejecting things that are contrary to spiritual life. Cleanliness, being clean, because being clean keeps one of the modes of goodness. I didn't mention the modes of nature too much. There's 3 modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Goodness gives you happiness, passion gives you distress, ignorance gives you sleep. You say, I won't go to sleep. No, ignorance, just misery, like someone who has a hangover. That's ignorance. And so goodness really gives you happiness. And goodness is a good point to start spiritual life or take off from back to Godhead. So anyway, Shanti, being honest, religious, studying, and being a good example for others. Because those who are taking the second initiation, they're called Brahmins. And a Brahmin is one who is actually a leader of society or an example for other people. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that yad yada chariti shreshtas tata viveta rojanaha, that people with a high position, they set the example for others. Or as they say in that movie, with great power comes great responsibility. You seen the movie? No. Anyway, so one has a position, you have a responsibility towards others to set an example. That was the point I made. So that's the second initiation. So now we're going to proceed. I think I spoke long enough. Now we're going to proceed with the name-giving part of the ceremony.